You know, Aria, trust is a two-way street.
Aria continues her trip to the dark side, and a fan favorite is back for a split second. Let's dive into what happened. What's up, you lovely people? Lisa here. Sorry for the delay on this one, but welcome back to this episode of What Happened, all about Season 7, Episode 15 of Pretty Little Liars. Fun fact, this episode was actually directed by PLL's very own Troyan Bellisario. Well done, Troyan. Well done. Now, while the last few episodes have actually picked up momentum giving us answers, I feel like this one was a bit slower in comparison, but it was still pretty good. So let's kick it off with Emily, Alison, and Paige. So from what we last saw, Paige found out that Alison was pregnant, and we learned that Alison is carrying Emily's baby. Or is she really? Do we ever know for sure with AD? In this episode, Alison and Emily are struggling with what they're going to do about this whole baby. You know, Alison kind of didn't want the baby because, you know, she thought it was Archer's baby, and now she's kind of torn because it's also Emily's baby. Emily ultimately decides that she wants to keep the baby, but will Alison go along with that? They end up going to get a blood test, and it turns out that the baby is in fact Emily's, and the blood test also confirms that Archer Dunhill is not the father of the baby, so who exactly is the daddy? With all the new developments, it seems like Paige has decided to actually take that college coaching job and leave Emily. But Emily is like, I want to make this work, and Paige is just like, look, let's be honest here, we'd all be miserable, and you know it. And we being them plus Alison, because now that Emily and Alison are possibly having this baby, Alison would be more involved, and if Paige stuck around, well, they'd have to learn how to get along. And I don't know if that would actually ever happen. Now, before Paige goes, we creepily see her staring over Alison as Alison sleeps on the couch, and at first glance, we're kind of led to believe that Paige might be doing something bad to Alison here. But alas, it's actually the complete opposite. The two basically make amends, but before Paige goes, she tells Alison there's something she has to know. Paige asks Alison if she loves Emily, and Alison goes, you know what, I'm the last person you should ask about love. Paige then asks Alison why she finds it so hard to be honest with herself, and Alison is like, I don't know, people just don't like the truth. Paige then tells Alison to try just for a minute, and basically without saying the words I love you, Alison expresses her feelings for Emily, basically that she loves her.
You look at her eyes, and you want to be worth the effort. You want to be the person she sees.
Before leaving, Paige actually tells Allie that she's going to have a beautiful baby, which is really sweet, and I know I give Paige a hard time and she annoys me, and I've expressed that, but I think this was such a good note for her to leave on, especially with viewers who are annoyed with her like me. It kind of puts a nice picture of Paige in our memories for the last time we see her. At least I believe this is the last time we'll probably see her, right? When Emily's back over at Allie's after all of this, Allie tells Emily that she's thought about it and she's going to have the baby. She's just not sure if she'll be able to do it really, but if Emily helps her, and of course Emily is like, I will help you. So now, the big question that we all just need to know is, who's the damn father? Moving on to Spencer, it looks like Detective Fury is on to the Liars. Spencer shows up at the station to bring them some sort of cupcakes that don't seem delicious at all, and she of course tries to pry some information about the case from him. The detective tells her what he's learned and his theory about how maybe Mary Drake and Rollins, or Dunhill as he is, were working together. Maybe she killed him, and then he asks Spencer why she really wanted him to help her locate Mary Drake. Now Spencer tries to play this whole thing off, saying, oh, she didn't know that Dunhill was dead when she asked for his help, and it's like, sure. Spencer returns home to see that someone has been sleeping in her bed and drinking all her wine, all Goldilocks and the Three Bears style. Now, if this had happened to me when I was at home, I would have grabbed a baseball bat or a fire poker or anything to arm myself before creeping around. But Spencer goes looking around, ends up finding a bottle propped in the doorway with a note in it, and she opens it, and it's from Mary Drake, and it looks like she wants to talk. Now, when Detective Fury meets with Alison later, he tells her that he's sure Dunhill was killed the day that he left the hospital, and that maybe more than one person was involved. Actually, maybe 2, or 3, or maybe 4 were involved. Do the math? Yeah. He thinks that maybe someone actually got nervous about this whole thing and was looking for an out for themselves, and maybe that's why they sent the finger, that someone doesn't want Archer to stay buried. So him saying maybe 4 others were involved definitely means he thinks that somehow the girls might be involved, and Allie is quickly catching on to this too. Spencer ends up leaving a response note for Mary in the bottle, and when Emily is over asking Spencer for advice about this whole baby situation, she sees that the note has disappeared. And then later, Spencer gets another note back with a key in it. So she heads off to Mary's room at the Lost Woods Resort, and as she's looking around, she gets a text and hears a creaking, and who shows up? Detective Fury. It turns out he saw Spencer leaving her barn and followed her, and then waited outside for 58 minutes before coming inside. Yeah, real awkward. I guess maybe he was waiting to see if someone else showed up to meet her. It's also just kind of weird that he pointed out it was exactly 58 minutes. That must have been the longest and most boring 58 minutes ever. Detective then tells Spencer that he has a list of things about this case that seem pretty odd, and he asks Spencer who she was waiting for. He then tells her that if things continue to snowball like it seems like they will be, he won't be able to help her anymore unless he tells her something, because all his theories keep coming back to Allie and the girls, and especially Spencer, since Spencer has 2 connections to this thing, both Archer and Mary Drake. Detective Fury then reveals that the night that they first met at the bar at Radley, Archer's credit card was used there, and he's already requested the receipts from Radley, so if they get them back with Archer's card number, and we saw this flashback that shows Spencer using the card and signing the receipt, if that matches up, it could mean trouble and lots more questions. But how did Spencer actually end up using Archer's card? Who ended up using the card all those other times? Later we see Spencer at the airport at the same time as Ezra is there, and it turns out she's talking to Wren, who has a layover there, and since it seems like a ton of flights have been delayed. Ezra and Wren actually meet for the first time, and Spencer's definitely kind of acting weird. She ends up going back over to Ezra to ask him for a favor.
I haven't seen Wren since before Charlotte was killed. And he helped her sneak into Radley, and I wanted to see if he remembered something that would help us, but so far it's just been nothing. Do you think that we could keep this between us?
So what exactly does Wren know? We actually don't get to hear them talking. Does he have vital information? I also feel like it's just so random that his layover just happened to be so well timed. Will he be sticking around? I hope so, because I like Wren, and I know some people think Wren could be AD or have a part in it, so let's just hope that he pops back up, because if this was the only appearance we're getting from him in this episode, it was not enough. At the end of the episode, Spencer does get another message in the bottle that says, "You brought the police. I understand. Goodbye." So did this mean Mary Drake is going bye-bye? Where's she going? Now, so why was Ezra at the airport at the same time that Spencer was? Well, it seems like Nicole's parents still have some kind of hold on him that I just need to know what it is. And he just keeps going back and forth at their request, and of course, this is not making Aria happy at all. The two basically keep fighting this whole entire episode, gets kind of annoying, and Ezra's just like, you know what, I have to go, we can figure out all this when I get back. Now when Ezra's at the airport, his flight's also delayed, which is why he happens to run into Spencer and Wren. Ezra returns back home, and there's still some obvious awkwardness between him and Aria, but Aria apologizes for how everything came out earlier in the episode, and that she's just really afraid of everything falling apart. Ezra then tells Aria that she was right and he needed to hear it all, and then he tells her that his flight wasn't canceled, he just didn't get on it. I'm calling liar right there? Then Aria's phone happens to go off, but she doesn't go pick it up, so is that another message from AD? Well, before I get to Aria and her work with the dark side, let's touch on Emily, Hannah, and Mona. So we know that it's Hannah's turn next to play the game, but we actually don't see anyone play the game in this episode, which is why I feel like it drags a bit. That game kind of really helped speed things up. Hannah has shared the picture that Ted gave her of Lucas and Charles together at the Troubled Boys camp, so now everyone is like, Lucas has to be AD, right, or have something to do with this. But Hannah, with her relationship with Lucas, is trying to tell everyone that he would never hurt them, and she just keeps trying to defend Lucas. Now everyone's wondering if maybe the loft is bugged, or if there's stuff in there that could be hidden, that could help them figure things out. And even though Hannah continues to tell the girls they're wrong about Lucas, they end up finding something pretty interesting in the loft. As Hannah and Emily are looking around, they find boxes of comic books, and inside one of them is an envelope, and inside that is a homemade comic book created by Lucas and Charles called Arcturus. So these two end up reading the comic book and they share it with Aria, and I'll just let them explain what it's about.
The hero's this boy who gets picked on by other kids and by his own family.
And then he meets this alien woman in the woods, and she becomes his protector.
And she's this all-powerful shapeshifter who helps get revenge for the boy,
Torturing his enemies.
and sometimes the boy turns into Arcturus so he can experience the payback she gets for him.
Okay, yeah, sounds kind of twisted and familiar, right? More signs seem to just be pointing to Lucas, and Aria says that, you know, maybe even he had something to do with Allie's baby and AD, like maybe Lucas is the father? Later on, Hannah returns to the loft and goes to look for the comic book and sees that it's gone, and when she tells Spencer it's gone, Spencer thinks maybe Lucas came back for it even though he's on a retreat, so it doesn't really make much sense, but seems like no one is suspecting Aria, the only other person who actually saw where the comic book was. So Hannah ends up bringing Mona over to Spencer's to look at the game, and Mona falls in love with this game, and she says she wishes she had created something so genius. She determines that it runs on some kind of batteries that are super powerful, much like space rover batteries, which where does someone get something like that? And that they have to finish the game before the batteries could even run down. Mona then says the game is made of rails, pulleys, and magnets that make everything move, but the game can't be listening at all times because that would just drain too much power. The game is also sealed, so it's possible that whoever made it can't even get back into it themselves, and when the game ends is when the game dies. Now Hannah asks her if Lucas could have made it, and Mona goes, you know what, this isn't a game or computer, it's mechanical and lovingly handmade, but she doesn't really answer the question. Mona, though, is really just getting off on this game, and I think that if she had the chance to marry it, she would. Hannah then tells Mona that she wants her to help play the game, finish it, and win it, and Mona's like, oh, no, why me? I am not going near that thing. Mona says that playing with people's lives can be an addiction, and she obviously knows that firsthand, and she doesn't want to get involved with the game. But Hannah then says, you know what, yeah, that may be true, but imagine how you'll feel when you beat it. And this obviously makes Mona's ears perk up, so I wonder now, is Mona gonna help Hannah play the game? I'm kind of thinking she is, and I'm also thinking that's not gonna fly well with AD because AD would have to find out pretty quickly that Mona has seen it, right? Speaking of AD, the last liar to talk about in this whole thing is Aria, who's gone over to the dark side and officially earns her black hoodie in this episode. Aria has to keep talking to AD over FaceTime and shady dumpsters and alleys. It's kind of creepy. But when she FaceTimes AD, who is now using this creepy ass mask of Aria's face and a voice changer to chat with her, it gives me some nightmares. That image is still in my head. Now Aria tries to tell AD that she's not gonna hurt her friends, but you know AD's like, yeah, you know what, you're gonna do whatever I want you to do because Ezra is one document away from going to prison, and AD also just wants the game to end. So this document that AD holds in their hands is some pretty powerful stuff. Later on, when Hannah is showing Aria that picture of Lucas and Charles, Aria misses a FaceTime call from AD, and let's just say AD doesn't like that. In fact, that's rule number 1 from AD when Aria chats with her later: never send AD to voicemail. Now AD is like, hey, you were talking to your friends this morning, I don't like that. And then AD brings up that, you know, trust is a two-way street, and demands to know what Hannah and Spencer were doing when they left town the other day. Aria ends up telling AD they were looking for Mary, and then she eventually spills that they found out where Mary was hiding, and they also talked to Charlotte's father. Later, Aria tells AD about Lucas and Charles's comic book, and when Aria asks AD if Lucas is AD, the answer that she gets is just, would I tell you if I was, or would I tell you if he was? AD then tells Aria she's a good spy, but what kind of thief are you? And then holds up the number 214 on their glove. Aria ends up stealing that comic book, and she sneaks into Rosewood High and goes to locker 214, which is empty. She places the comic book in it, starts to walk away, hears noises, and immediately turns back, opens the locker, and the envelope with the comic book is gone, and inside the locker is the infamous black hoodie hanging there. But seriously? How did someone make a trap door or something in that locker that switched that out that fast? That seems super impossible to me. TV magic, I guess. But now, Aria has the black hoodie. What's she gonna do with it? At the end of the episode, when Aria and Ezra are talking, we do hear her phone go off again, and she doesn't pick up, which means this is the second time she's missed a video chat from AD, and you know what that means? Nothing good. So the episode ends with AD sitting there stringing together one of these messages with the creepy face of Aria, which seems like this is what they're going to send to Aria now that they've been sent to voicemail a second time.
When I call, you answer. I need you faithful and devoted. Or else.
Yeah, so whoever's editing this clip also lets out a really evil laugh. And I can't tell if the laugh is coming from the person sitting in front of the computer or the recording on the computer because there's a file covering the mouth. It's hard to tell, but either way, super creepy. Alright, so it looks like Spencer is about to be in some deep water when it comes to Archer Dunhill's murder. Why would Ezra lie to Aria about his flight being cancelled, and did Spencer actually get any good info out of Wren? Well, we didn't get a ton of answers in this episode, but next episode looks like we're learning Lucas's big secret, and Aria will in fact don the famous hoodie.
Do you remember a joke you made about burying a body?
You were standing on quicksand. The more you struggle, the faster it's gonna pull you under.
No one is innocent.
I know in my heart that you guys would never hurt me.
No one is loyal.
That's not true.
He just threw you under the bus.
Find out Lucas's shocking secret about A.
That is the reason why you were tortured.
Okay, so now I know I'm excited for the next episode. Like I said, this episode, once again, a little slow, kind of backpedaling a little bit because we didn't really have the game going on, and Aria and Ezra's bickering was just super annoying and I need it to be over with. But the next episode does look like a fun one, and I'm ready for this flood of answers, and I have a feeling you guys are too. So now, who do you think AD is? Since they're revealing a big secret about Lucas in the next episode, it can't be him, right? It's like there's still 5 more episodes or so left in the season, so he would just be too obvious. Melissa is still a good suspect, so leave me all your thoughts on this episode down in the comments below or on my socials. Tell me all your good theories, and then click right over here to see the brand new promo for The Foster Season 5, which returns very, very soon. And as always, don't forget to subscribe. High five to all of you who do subscribe because you rock. I'm Lisa. I'll see you real soon.